phone number is 1-929-205-6099. Meeting ID is 892-2813-2023, and then you have to press the pound button to get in. You need to write your full name and address to be able to get into the meeting tonight and later on tonight. And you will automatically be muted when you're entering the meeting. So if you want to speak, you should use the raise the hand symbol, I guess is what raise hand emoji, if you want to speak. Tonight, I am actually remote. I have COVID, so but I'm here because we have to start off the new year. Kobe Frangillo is also remote. Hopefully, he will be in soon. In the chambers, we have Patrick Sheridan, and we have a new member of the EDC this year, Brian Chandler. So he's actually back. He took a hiatus, did a few other things, and now he has graciously agreed to join us again. And because he has been bitten by the zoning bug, and, and he really likes it now. Right, Brian?
That's correct.
Yeah, and it's great. I love it. And so we'll just keep building our army, right? So tonight we are going to talk about our goals. So I believe that Amy Frigoletti is in Frigoletti in Frigoletti.
Yes.
Okay, is in Chambers. Hi, Amy. And Brian Taberner is there as well, and Jamie Helen is on Zoom as well tonight. So we're all here in case anybody has any questions. What we're gonna do today is, if you can see if you look at the EDC goals and the work map that was put together for us at the last one of the last town council meetings. So we have we have goals that we want to work on for 2024, 2025. And we really kind of need to decide which ones we want to do first. I think I would like to ask Brian, if it's okay with Jamie, what we haven't met for a while, and maybe he has some updates on some of the things that he's been working on. Not to put you on the hot seat, Brian, but
No, that's okay.
I think there's been times where we talk a lot about different things, and then you get up and you say, oh, I've already been working on this, and this is what I want to do. So I would like you to.
That's what I expected this time too, actually.
Okay, I know. I shocked you, right? I would like you to give us a little bit of update on the things that we left off with. I think we talked a little bit about 40R bylaw last time, before we ended, before the last election cycle, and we were working on Franklin for All things as well.
Correct.
So maybe you can give us an update on what you're
Sure.
thinking and what you think we can get done.
Yeah, thank you. This is Brian Taberner, Director of Planning and Community Development for the town. As far as EDC's goals for 24, 25, there are obviously some good projects on there, and some of them are partially started, and specifically the 40R bylaw issue. We already have a draft document, and next step for that project would be identify on the map where we would want 40R overlay districts. So that's really it's really a workshop more than anything else. We'll come in with some proposals, but it's really going to need the EDC's input on yes, no, maybe we should, so it'll be during a couple of meetings, maybe we can identify the outlines of where these districts may go. I think staff has some thoughts on it, but as far as it will require a lot of public outreach because you put an overlay district in an area, you got to realize what that means to the people that are in the underlying that overlay district. You know, what can they do, what their neighbors can do with their properties, is a big issue. So that in itself is a project that, maybe we can be doing that while we're doing one or two other issues at the same time. I don't know. I think we need to, depends on what the issues are. If you have another big project like that, I recommend just doing one at a time. But there are some other issues that we need to talk about. Shared kitchen spaces, or, research and discuss home occupation business bylaw. And we've done some of these things in the past to go so far, and we haven't really gone as far as I guess the EDC would like to go in those issues. So the EDC needs to tell us what they're thinking, and we outline a way to obtain that if we can obtain, that goal. So, I mean, we have the branding project going on. The administration's heading that up for the most part. The support and codify a grease trap bylaw, that's Board of Health and Sewer Departments. So that's really not a lot for me to be working on those issues. But the possibility of a Franklin Crossing neighborhood zoning district, that's a zoning change in a neighborhood. We need to really have public outreach on that. So I don't know. I know I haven't heard from Jamie in a little while because he's out right now. But I know that he would probably have some input on all of these. But maybe Amy does too. So I'm going to let you take it from there. As far as I'm concerned, the 40R, I would like to keep working on that project, and we will take whatever the priorities are after that, or at the same time, if we can manage to do 2 or 3 things at the same time, great.
Okay, all right, thank you, Brian. I think, my goal is definitely to work on the 40R, to get that hammered out and ready to go. I think probably other people are. I mean, we were really working, we made a lot of progress, and it would be good to start again. But there's a couple of hands up, and Kobe, is it okay if Jamie goes first, or do you want to chime in?
Yeah, that's all right. Mine's a question for Brian about a specific update, but Jamie, go
Okay.
first.
All right. Well, maybe Jamie can answer that. If not, we'll come back to you. Okay. So, Jamie, you have anything to add?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Kobe and I might have had the same question. I was hoping to get a more dense update on MBTA communities. There's a reason why it's at the top, as people may be reading in the press. The administration has made this clear that there will be essentially, penalties, and they're going to enforce the law. And that one has a regulatory ramification, and it's obviously very complicated. And I just thought maybe Brian could give a quick update on that one. And then we added on here Forge Park MBTA station for a reason. We've concentrated the MBTA communities, obviously around downtown for any listeners out there. But we've been recently contacted by a kind of semi-quasi-state agency who are looking for large parcels, and have identified this area and have been reaching out, I believe, to the folks over near the old Gorelick plant. And I think it's worth the town having a discussion, at least. If the state's serious about that, Brian and I have relayed our concerns to this quasi-state agency about, just using that and zoning it as warehouse space, which is, I'm not sure really necessarily what the best use of it might be. But maybe Brian could give us a quick update on the MBTA communities bylaw, and then after Kobe's done, Madam Chair, I'd like to just go through a couple of the other ones and just give some updates on some of the other projects when we have time. Thank you.
Okay, Jamie, thank you. Kobe gave a thumbs up when you asked about the MBTA communities. That was definitely one of the things I wanted to know more about, like why we worked a lot on that as well. I feel like we might be really close to finishing, or like why aren't we finished? But maybe Brian can give us an update on that.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yes, we have we've done some zoning changes over last year, obviously, that related to the MBTA community's requirements. And we did those, well, partially because of the MBTA requirements, but also for other reasons, because it makes sense. Multifamily housing, by right, up to certain size development. We also did inclusionary zoning, a variety of other things that are related. So if we look at the requirements for MBTA communities, we are very close based on the existing zoning as it is today. And with those changes we made, we're very, very close. There was a change a few months back that there is one thing that I was holding out on, was that before you could not require first floor commercial development in a zone and get credit for MBTA community zoning. So we held out because I really did believe it was the right thing to do. Now we're being told that the changes have been made and you can count those, but there is still a change required in our zoning that will have to take place, which probably don't want to go into now. But yes, this is a priority. We will be working on this again right off the bat with the 40R, obviously. MAPC, their GIS personnel had done the work for us to figure out how many housing units are we short, for instance, in an MBTA zone. I asked for them another update probably 3-4 weeks ago. Actually, it was probably right in the middle of the holidays, so I guess I haven't received anything back right now, and I guess I didn't expect it right off the bat. But once we get that update, I asked them to do a couple of changes to their assumptions in their data, because I believe that we can possibly get, just with the way it is now, I think we could possibly meet it by making a couple of changes in what they have done in their spreadsheets. But if that's not the case, then we need to possibly make another small zoning change on uses in the downtown commercial district. That would definitely put us over. If we don't want to make those changes, then we could use the Forge Park MBTA station in that area and create a similar zone in that area, which would be, we just add them together and we would have what we needed. So, which is the reason that, one of the reasons that Jamie's put, up the top, the MBTA community law, including potential rezoning around Forge Park MBTA station, because we haven't even considered that as part of the mix in the MBTA community's requirements. We haven't even gone there because we thought we could do it in the downtown. So yes, that is very, very important, and we are working, as Jamie mentioned, they're working on some issues in that area. We don't want to have a whole bunch of big warehouses in that area. I mean, we have enough warehousing in town, in my opinion. We need some other type of commercial industrial development, and that would be a great place for it. Something a little more upscale than the warehouse development. So that's, I hand it back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Brian, for that update. I think it's important to be able to use the mixed use. I also, one of the things that from the Franklin for All is, like, I really want to be able to go to like C1 mixed use by right, and that's probably another public hearing and outreach. But those are really important things, I think. So, Jamie, do you have anything else to add?
I do, Madam Chair. Really quickly, thank you, Brian, for that great update on all of that. I kind of tried to project a little bit into the order. It's kind of laid out here a little bit just based on timeline for the year. So MBTA, as we just heard, is pretty close. So I think, we should try to do that one, hopefully in the near future. Amy is working on the marketing and branding, putting those pieces together. The arts director is starting in about a month. And so that will start moving down that path. And as folks who have seen the capital plan, the town and school, both of us are trying to redo the websites and give them a refresh. That'll be before the capital committee soon. So kind of blends in, plus the money that Jeff Roy got us. We're about to try to put the procurement out. And so we should have a meeting or two with the EDC just to get a fresh update on that. The Board of Health sewer grease trap issue is really quite simple. It's really not changing anything substantially from what the town has had in policy for a while. But at the Board of Health's lead, and I give Kathy a ton of credit as always, and Doug, they just really believe that the Board of Health just wants to put this into the town bylaw now instead of dealing with it through town policy. We've made so many improvements to almost every business, in downtown by this point. There's very few left that don't have a grease trap, and it's just the time, I think, to be more commensurate with the same communities as us to put it into the town code. The Franklin Crossing Neighborhood District, we can make that as complicated or as simple as possible. The real simple vision that's been there for years is C1 doesn't make any sense as a title to anybody. But Franklin Crossing as a neighborhood, and to give it that feel and that coziness that we think it deserves, it's kind of developed with the restaurants down there and the other businesses. At a minimum, that was the vision. If folks want to go a little deeper, that's fine. But I think the idea was to try to give it that kind of neighborhood feel and kind of separate it a little bit from downtown and create your own kind of neighborhood. So that's the vision with that. Obviously, the housing bond bill, there's a lot of push. Councilor Hamlin, Councilor Frangillo, we heard all about it at the MMA conference. The MMA does support, the entirety of the bill, with the exception of the by right with ADUs, which, now being on the local advisory council, I hope to have a seat at the table to try to work with the administration on that. And I hope the legislature, gives us the shot at this, to get it done by July. But, we really can't do much on it until we know if it's going to become law. So, but it's an important law, Madam Chair, as you know. If the legislature puts this through, there may be a lot of other grant funding opportunities that we may want to work on the EDC. Obviously, all about the master plan. The other bylaws here are the ones that we've been kind of tinkering with, and Amy has a lot of experience with shared kitchen spaces from previous employment, so we look forward to her input on that. And finally, the fun one at the end, we've had outreach from the state to us. A fourth hotel is coming on site in Franklin. Hopefully in the early part of the year. And with the marketing stuff going on, we're going to try to think through some innovative ways to attract a lot of the World Cup energy to Franklin. This does take a lot of planning. And we know eventually when, about a year from now, it's going to kind of really hit its stride. But this is an enormous opportunity, and I want to give a shout out to the superintendent of schools who in the past have been resistant to allowing their fields to be used by outside entities. We had the NCAA Division I lacrosse at one point contact us to use our fields when they had the Final Four, women's and men's, at Gillette Stadium. And unfortunately and sadly, the schools were not supportive of inviting them to use our fields for practices and stuff. And I have to give a huge shout out to Lucas and the staff. This is a huge opportunity for Franklin and to put us on the map with, the best soccer players across the world. The state has been contacting us, and I think that, we don't really have anything to really report now, but, that I'm just so excited about that, and I know everybody else is as well. So if anybody obviously has any questions, happy to answer them, and Amy's obviously in the chamber to answer as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I think all of us are really excited about World Cup, hopefully. It'll bring a lot of people in to Franklin. It's really fun. It's just I think that all the Frangillos know how fun it is. I know that Kobe had his hand up before he got into the chamber, so he's back in chambers now. But maybe you guys can decide Does Patrick have any questions? And then we'll go to Brian, and then maybe we'll go back to Kobe. Is that okay?
Yes.
By me?
Patrick?
Just about the Franklin Crossing, I'd just be curious if there was another name for the neighborhood, just to look in the history, just to see if there ever was, instead of making up a new one.
I think Franklin Crossing has been.
It has been called that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Little Italy.
I'll be speaking of that when I talk anyway.
Was it literally?
Yeah, I think so. It's where like the
Painted it.
train crosses,
Yeah, I know.
right?
Yeah,
So
I
the
just wanna-
street, and so it's been called the crossing for a long time, and I think a lot of people know when you say that where it is.
Yes.
I guess is what I would say. But I think I don't know if Brian's still there, if he wants to pitch in at all, or
No, I think it, in general, that's what I've known it as since I've been here with the town 15 or more years, but at one point, it was, I don't know if it was called Little Italy or anything of that nature, but it's a substantial amount of Italians in that neighborhood. Maybe we could, do a little research on that if you wanted to, but,
I mean, that's just an idea, just a thought.
sure.
you all set, Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay. Brian?
Hi, Madam Chair. Thanks for getting me back on this committee. I had a chance to look.
Welcome.
I had a chance to look at some of these goals, and it's a great list. And it all goes to really, as a taxpayer, my main goal is to keep that industrial not to go under that 19%, so we can continue to get some tax money out that way instead of all residential. So hopefully some of this will help us keep that. And it's funny how everyone seemed to gravitate towards the crossing, because that's what I had circled tonight when I went through all these. And I think to Patrick's point, I think Franklin people would always say, we're going, uptown, the center, and it would always be, oh, I'm down the crossing. So I think a lot of people do know that, I'm down the crossing. And I think that's a great area for us to focus on, because we've tried so hard with the center, and there's only so much we can do. It seems a little more wide open down there, that Union Street. I think it would be great to have more restaurants. As you know, the winery's already getting that started. There might be a couple other things going up for sale, which would be great. And there was that one, and the only other thing I had a question on, we lost our branding and marketing director, that's correct?
We never really
Well,
had. Yeah.
go ahead, Kobe.
Yeah, we never really had a director, but we had a communications person on staff that we no longer have. They were tasked with our branding and marketing study, but I believe Amy is.
Yeah, so Jamie's asked me to take over that project. We're currently doing a brand audit with all the departments, just kind of seeing what each department is doing for their branding, what they're using as a seal, what they're using for colors. So that's really an internal project right now, and I'm also working with the state. We're gonna be signing our contract with them within the next week or so, just to get that earmark that was, there was an ARPA earmark that the representative got for us for $50,000. So we're working on those documents with the state to get that earmark, and I'll be working on the RFP for that project soon. So we'll be able to come to the EDC soon with some additional information and be able to kind of talk about some of the things that we're doing.
So for people at home, that 50,000 is gonna go towards the upgrade of all the websites and all that.
So that won't be for the website. The website is different, but we're hoping that with, new branding and marketing materials, we can use some of those things that come out of, studying this and getting a consultant to work on new branding and marketing materials. We can incorporate that into our website design.
Okay. Thank you, Amy.
Hey, Brian.
Thank you, Madam
Brian,
Chair.
I just wanted you to know that your idea of the wayfinding signs, like that would come out of that. So
Okay, yeah,
we
that was-
haven't stopped we haven't stopped that project. It's just taken a long time. Julie Jacobson worked on that, if you guys remember when she was here. And Lily helped, and you know, it's
Yes,
just
I did. I wanted to
takes
get
a
all,
long time.
I wanted to get all those Rhode Island cars to come and eat dinner here in Franklin before they just headed down past Mr. Mercer's
That's
house.
right.
Thank you.
It's like, stop, go this way, go to a play, go to
Yeah.
do something different, right? Yeah, so the wayfinding signs should be in that as well. And that's really, I find, one of the big goals that I have, right, to get that done. But let's go to Kobe.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, so my question was really around MBTA Communities Act. So this is something that we knew, right? We did a whole bunch of looking at the uses and allowed density. But we knew that what's really holding us back from being able to permit housing units by right is our setbacks, our lot sizes, and most importantly, our parking minimums, right? We even went through a project based on the density and the lot coverage, and look, and if you just get a waiver for this, and it was like ding, 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 as long as you need a waiver for parking or something like that, we're no longer by right, and that means we're not going to be MBTA compliant, and more importantly, it makes a project harder to come by and harder for us to get the housing units and the income that we need. So I believe that, that they put a tool, it sounds like MAPC has a tool that they're helping us. Are those the sort of things that you're looking at about tweaks around the assumptions that you can make that will help us comply?
Correct, yeah. The state has these tools, the MAPC has, utilizing their own and the state's. And there's also ArcGIS, there's companies out there that are, have produced their own, and they're trying to help communities do things. So there's a lot of resources right now on this. So if you create a district that is, say, 20 acres big, but you have 4 roads going through it, they don't count the roads.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, they count the roads towards your density, which is really weird, but if you can carve that acreage up without including the roads, you automatically get a denser area in their formulas. So just something like that can get you that much closer to the answer, the number of units. I actually did think, based on the basic formula, you take a 10-acre area and then you don't have any roadways through it, you just have parcels, and how many parcels you can get in there based on setbacks and, everything. And it's actually, we easily make over 15, in our zoning districts, but if you add in the other areas that they're making the assumptions on, you don't have any, they don't even come close, you're like nine units or something like that in some areas. So I was hoping we didn't need to change any more, any of the zoning, but we may have to. So I'll, next time we have a EDC meeting, hopefully we can discuss this issue in more detail and come up with a plan if we don't actually already have the right numbers. So.
Okay, well, I certainly want to.
I know you do.
But, what timeline do you think we can expect on MBTA communities?
Well, that and 40R, we will be starting up again, obviously, and, as soon as EDC gets going again, which they are now, we'll start scheduling these things on the agenda and start discussing again and going forward. But the MBTA community things, like I said, I did send out that email to MAPC, and I'll follow up on that this week. And maybe they haven't they put it aside and say, oh, we'll get to Brian in February. I don't know, but let's it's not that they're not even charging us at the moment for this. They're working as a to assist us. If I need to start paying people, I will do so, but I was thinking that they're basically used as guinea pigs to begin with, because we were the first community that we asked them to set something up and to work with us. But, you know, so they did do that, and they've given us 3 edits, if you will, since then, but it's still not quite there to and I do believe we're close enough, but we'll see. I might be right.
Okay.
We'll see soon.
Okay, Chair, so my priorities would certainly, 1 and 2 would be MBTA and 40R, and I look forward to getting those done first, and certainly looking at some other opportunities around MBTA. I personally, I'm very interested in re-examining Forge Park and being proactive about as those parcels become available, especially as we know the state's already looking at it, that we make sure that that's the type of area that we'd like to see in Franklin. I think that's very important. I don't think we need to touch it for this particular, under the banner of MBTA communities. It doesn't make it any less of a priority to me, but the whole point is that we create units around transit so that we can create a more walkable downtown hub that feels much further away from on the Forge Park front, although equally appealing. Branding and marketing sounds like it's going, but that would be my 3rd priority, and then the 4th would really be still not dropping off the housing production plan and the Franklin for All study and the recommendations that were in there. And one of the biggest ones that's true across both the housing production plan and Franklin for All is looking at 2 things. 1 are parking minimums, and 2 are shared parking policies. And I think it's no accident that 2 deep dives into what's preventing the housing units and the types of housing units and affordable housing units that we want, that both of those came back and said parking's a key piece that we need to be looking at. So I'd personally like to see that be included amongst our first half of priorities, if you will. My only other thoughts, on the parking front, just to be proactive, here's me asking for more parking. You can write it down. One of the opportunities around Franklin Crossing, because what we don't want to do is force a whole bunch of units. If we're going to, welcome more economic development in that area, we don't want a whole bunch of those units to be replaced with surface lots. And so being proactive about thinking about lot space available. One key one is MBTA's gravel lot right next to Agway. And I was wondering if we could initiate conversations. We had mentioned it in passing that I was in with Rep. Roy. It sounds like Jamie might have a thought on that. But MBTA is initially not super opposed to the idea, although they're currently using it for staging. Anyway.
Okay, thank you, Kobe. Jamie.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just want to make sure I pinch myself and I heard what I heard, and I do think quickly on the, it's very clear we have to reduce the parking minimums in downtown. I mean, the commercial piece. I mean, the changing in the bylaw last year on the parking lots. And I've asked Kerry just today for a report just to try to check in at the 6-month level on how that's going, so I can send that out to folks when we get that in a week or 2. I think the parking lot down in downtown in particular really has changed the game on this issue, and so we should work on that. Maybe we can do that, Brian, when we're dealing with MBTA communities. On the gravel lot, we've had the T out there on a few occasions. And, part of the problem with the parcel is, if they were going to let us use it for anything or sell it, they would require, as part of any deed, limited use. So you really couldn't build on it, put in proper drainage. Basically, it would have to stay gravel. We even asked if we could plant trees or a bench, and they were completely opposed to all of it.
Yeah.
I will say, as you know about the SNET Trail stuff, and as we work through the T, I just want you to know, Councilor Frangillo and everybody, I still intend to engage the MBTA when we work through those issues on this. So it's not lost on us. And every time we get the MBTA to be in contact with us about something, we are asking them about that lot as well, and to see if anything has changed up there. So it's definitely on our radar, and we take every chance we can. And if there's any updates on it, or changes with the T leadership. Now that we do have new T leadership, by the way, maybe we can break some ground on that.
That's great. That's great, Jamie. Kobe, can I give the floor to Brian?
Yeah, and I would just point out, I was going to text you. We do have someone in chambers who I believe has a comment when you're ready for him.
Okay.
And I think we've been getting some chats from a member in the audience.
You just had a quick question, Stephen.
Oh, okay. I don't see any chats coming up on my screen, but let's go to Brian, and then we'll go to the audience.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the town administrator. That land is pretty valuable for us on Union Street and the crossing. Do we have any swap type land we could give them on Fisher Street? It's just the next stop down before they get to Forge Park. They could stage a lot of things down there, if that's holding things up.
Through you, Madam Chair, incredibly good question and a great thought. It's certainly nothing that's off the table. On Fisher Street, part of the issue with that is that's a Superfund site under the EPA jurisdiction right now to do the cleanup. I am anticipating the EPA, I did talk to them this fall, probably sometime this spring or in the summer. They are planning on holding a public forum on the Fisher Street area. It's certainly something we can keep on the table. I would say the only trouble with a land swap is it requires legislative approval, and we'd have to go through all that hoopla. So we'll keep it as an option, but as you know, with the other one that we're doing down on Beaver Street for the recycling center, it's now officially entered year 10, trying to get the land swap done. So, but it might certainly be something that'll work out. Absolutely, we'll definitely keep it in mind.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Brian. Okay, let's go to the audience and chambers. Is there somebody there?
Hello, this is Maxwell Marangello. I live at 127 Central Park Terrace, Franklin, Massachusetts. I want to echo Councilor Frangillo's comments about Forge Park. I think that Forge Park actually has some unique opportunities that downtown doesn't have, and one of those is the proximity to the 495 interchange. If you have more developments near that area, all that traffic is going to go straight out onto 495, and it's not going to go through the rest of town. Whereas if you develop downtown, that's got to go through King Street, or it's got to go up through 140. So I think that in terms of, that's a good opportunity to have development that isn't going to impact traffic in the rest of the town, or at least to a great degree. So I think that just like with 40B, the MBTA communities law is a minimum. It's not a maximum. And we could go above and beyond that if we want to. And if there's an opportunity with Forge Park to have more housing there, affordable housing, I think we should go for it, just because there's less of those drawbacks. I also just want to ask the committee, what is the intersection between the 40R bylaw and the MBTA communities and the downtown crossing? Is that something that can be, is there overlap between some of those requirements that might be tackled together or synergize in that way?
Brian.
Thank you, Max. It's a really good question. Yeah, Kobe, I was going to go to Brian for that.
Yeah. My first stab is that
Yeah.
MBTA communities is by right, and 40R is an overlay district, which means it's not going to be by right. And so they're might be going toward the same aims, but typically an overlay district won't count toward our MBTA communities by right.
Correct. It's not going to change, it's not going to change your counts with the MBTA by creating 40R overlay districts. But if you do create, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with creating with the 40R.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change your counts.
Did that answer Max's question?
Yeah, yes, and I just, like I said, I'd like to reiterate, Forge Park as an opportunity in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Kobe, do you have anything else, or does Patrick, anybody else have anything?
I couldn't tell if the chats were meant to be public or not. I can't see them.
Okay.
I just saw that we have a notification.
Oh, I don't see any, so maybe Amy can see them.
I can't see them, they might be on the main screen, but if people have questions, they can raise their hand
Yeah,
and chat.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anybody else in chambers that has a question?
I don't
There's
see
not,
anyone.
no.
Oh, okay, so we have somebody online right now, Sharon. Sharon, could you state your name and address?
Yes, my name is Sharon Bogeray. I live at 50 Shady Lane in Franklin. Sorry, my chats, I couldn't send them publicly. But anyhow, I have
That's
two
okay.
questions. One is about what you were talking about, the new hotel. And I'm wondering about new and current hotels. What's the current hotel occupancy rate in Franklin? And beyond the World Cup, what is the plan to remain a viable business and appeal to paying occupants? My concern is just being a venue for additional displaced individuals being housed by the state. And do you want me to ask my second question now or wait till that's answered?
Well, we can go right to Jamie. He put his hand up right away. So
Okay.
why don't we get that question answered, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, Jamie?
Yeah, I hope I understood all the little mini questions that Sharon had. I don't anticipate it being another site, for any of the migrant families. I think the governor has put a cap on that issue, and I know the legislature put into a law about overflow sites. Also, people have to understand, as we've learned more about this, that, there has to be two willing parties. And I think one of the reasons why the hotels were chosen were largely because that one hotel owner at the Best Western was willing to enter that contract, and that occupancy of that hotel was relatively low, and so that hotel was chosen almost a year ago by the state as a spot. In terms of occupancy, we usually meet with the hotels about once every year and a half to kind of check in, especially after the pandemic. During the pandemic, they were down to about 10%, 20% on a good month. As of my last meeting with them about a year and a half ago, they were about 60% full and kind of slowly growing. I think the Marriott and the Hampton do fairly well, and I think the new hotel it's not officially a Homewood Suites, but there's another new brand that's stemming out of that Hilton Homewood Suites chain that I'd never heard of before, but it's within that realm. Excuse me. And so I would anticipate with a brand new hotel that has had tons of financial troubles. They had to stop midway through the pandemic, as the Spruce Pond residents are well aware of. I just cannot possibly see how a hotel owner that's put that kind of money in and struggled for 4 or 5 years to get it built through the pandemic is gonna enter into a contract for that. I think that's a very appetizing place for a lot of business potential, a lot of hotel tax revenue. If the governor's legislation on the Empowerment Act, which will probably be before the council in late February, of adding another % onto the hotel tax before the World Cup, that's also a huge business revenue generator for the town and a no-brainer in my book. But obviously, we got to work hard as a council first to get the legislature to approve the governor's bill, which will be on the council agenda in late February. So the occupancy now is probably up near around 70% at the other hotels. It might even be a little higher on some other nights, like football games, concerts from Gillette, concerts from Great Woods, the hockey tournaments that have slowly come back in Marlboro. We're usually a spillover, more affordable opportunity. And to Brian Chandler's point earlier, we want all of those folks to come and stay because we want the meals tax revenue as well before people leave and go back to their Taylor Swift concerts at Gillette Stadium.
Thank
Thank you, Jamie. There was, Sharon, there was, before, I remember, I think before COVID, they were like usually at 85 to like 80 to 85% occupied.
That's
And
correct.
it was things like what Jamie mentioned, but also Dean College, homecoming, all of their events, the Black Box events, like people would come and stay for the weekend. And when we have things like our cultural, a community unity kind of event, the Harvest Festival, the Strawberry Stroll, things like that, people will stay, and that helps everybody, right? So I just wanted to add that in there, Sharon. Go ahead with your second question.
Great, thank you. That's helpful because I'm new to town.
Yeah.
My second question is following up with what Kobe was mentioning about affordable housing. So I would like you to define what affordable housing is. Is that related to providing housing that has income caps, or for lower income? Is it for homes for sale? Is it apartments, condos, or what do you have in mind when you say that?
I love taking
Do you
this
mean,
one.
are you asking Kobe that, Sharon?
In general, he's the one that mentioned
Okay.
specific affordable housing, but anybody can respond
Okay.
to that.
Kobe, you want to take that?
Yeah, I love taking this one. Right, I think about affordable housing in three different buckets. We have our public housing that's offered by the trust. We have our subsidized housing inventory eligible. This is 40B housing. This is capped at it's income restricted, right? So you have to be, the typical one is the units either for rent or purchase have to be available for people making 80% of the region's median income, the area median income, but you can get deeper than that. So you got the public housing, you got these sort of capped rent or capped price ones. And then you have this sort of lowercase a affordable housing, which is types of units that are still market rate, but they're available at different price points, usually because they're smaller or they have fewer amenities, and they're close to other things. And so we're talking about all three of those, but particularly talking about looking at that last one. How do we offer a diversity of housing types, either for rent or purchase, that are available to people at different incomes?
Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Sharon?
It did, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for zooming in tonight and asking your questions. That was very, very nice of you to do that for us. It's always great to have questions and have people listening. Is there anybody else in the chambers that has a question?
No.
No? Okay. I can't really see. All right. So I think we have a lot of things that we want to do. What I understood is 40R bylaw, MBTA communities, focusing on downtown, get some more of those Franklin for All things about the parking, and then maybe at the same time we can start working on the other things that don't really involve Brian as much, like this branding and is there something, I don't think most of the things go through him, but
No,
maybe
grease
the
trap.
shared kitchen, the grease trap thing. So maybe we could do a little bit of both, but we'll focus on Brian, and I just feel like we need to keep working at the MBTA communities and 40R. Does everybody, let me, if I can see everybody, is everybody kind of nodding their head? I got like a thumbs up. Okay. Okay. From Jamie, and then you guys are like, okay, is that cool? I think that, you know, we can be pretty dynamic too, right? We don't have to stick to it if something comes up. Like if something really good comes up with Forge Park and the crossing, like then, you know, we got to go for it, right? So those are going to be in the wings all the time too. There's no downtime, I don't think. Is that everybody okay with that? Yeah. Brian, are you okay? Do you know what
I
what
got
our
you.
goals are?
No problem.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So you know what, you guys, I am gonna take a motion to adjourn so we can get ready for our next meeting, and I can take a nap between this one and the next one.
Go quick. So moved.
Second.
Councilor Sheridan,
Yes.
Councilor Frangillo,
Yes.
Councilor Chandler,
Yes.
Chair, yes. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Feel better. Thanks,
And
Jared.
thank you,
Thanks,
Brian.
Melanie.
Thank you, Brian and Amy. Thank you, everybody, for your questions.
Whoa.
Recording
Welcome
stopped.
back.
I know, huh? Round two.
Public Radio.